Last but not least, dau cuvântul bunului nostru prieten, domnul Peter Thomas, de la Ambasada Marii Britanii, pentru ultima prezentare din cadrul acestui panel.
Bună ziua! Mulțumesc Expert Forum, mulțumesc Freedom House. Mă numesc Peter Thomas, șef secția politică la Ambasada Marii Britanii și cer scuze, doresc să vorbesc în limba engleză pentru această prezentare. Este un subiect prea complicat pentru mine în limba română, but I hope you will understand my English. I'm very pleased to speak to you today because the UK has been highlighted as an example, and I'd like to take this opportunity to talk you through our legal framework and the progress we're making on implementing it. Criminal proceeds amount to 3.6% of global GDP, with 2.7% of global GDP, or 1.6 trillion US dollars, being laundered globally each year. According to the United Kingdom's Financial Services Authority, an estimated 23 to 57 billion pounds is laundered in the UK each year. The UK experience has been a learning process for both legal practitioners and those tasked with enforcing the law. We haven't always got it right. For example, before the Proceeds of Crime Act in 2002, we found that our tax rules were allowing drug dealers to register with the tax authorities and pay taxes on their criminal income. And the tax authorities did not have the legal authority to tell the police. Other problems. We could only seize assets after a criminal conviction, and our ability to seize assets was confined mainly to drugs and terrorism cases. Even then, we could only seize the profits of the crimes for which the defendant had been convicted. Confiscation orders were only being filed in 2% of potential cases, and only 50% of this 2% were being enforced. So the impact of this failed opportunity was stark. A government study in 1995 estimated that £650 million could be made available for confiscation, and a further £400 million was figured to be in the hands of individuals unlikely to be prosecuted. And a lot of this profit was being recycled into new crime. So we had to change something. The Proceeds of Crime Act came into force in 2002, and this law gives us 4 ways to recover assets: confiscation following a criminal conviction, civil recovery, taxation, and recovery of cash. How does it work? Confiscation following criminal conviction. This gives the powers to freeze assets at a very early stage of an investigation. It allows for a single scheme for confiscation of the value of the proceeds of crime following any criminal conviction, regardless of the amount. If a defendant has been convicted of a serious offence or has a history of a number of convictions, the court can now assume that all of their property is the proceeds of crime and can be factored into the amount on a confiscation order. And it also allows the freezing of assets from the beginning of an investigation, i.e. before the suspect is charged, so as to prevent them from moving the assets. And this is increasingly important in this globalized world. Seizing illicitly acquired assets through civil recovery. Prosecutors can take action in civil courts to recover the proceeds of crime. It's only available where the criminal prosecution is not available or has failed. An action is against the assets and not the person. The defendant may have died, have fled the UK, or have even been acquitted in the criminal court. It's only available at the moment to our Serious Organised Crime Agency, or SOCA, and the main prosecution agencies. And it's modelled on normal civil procedures with civil standard of proof. Civil recovery powers can attack assets gained over the past 12 years. Seizing assets through taxation. It's available where it is not appropriate to pursue civil recovery. The test is, do you have reasonable grounds to suspect? And these investigations can go back 20 years. And once the tax assessment has issued, the burden of proof falls on the taxpayer. Operationally, it means that our Serious Organised Crime Agency can operate normal taxation powers of our revenue and customs where they have reasonable grounds to suspect that gain or profits arise from criminal conduct. And finally, cash seizures. A suspect is found with more than £1,000 in cash and no reasonable explanation. It is therefore presumed to be the proceeds of crime or intended for use in crime. No conviction is required. It's available to the police, our Revenue and Customs Authority, and accredited financial investigators. Cases of cash seizure are given fast-track hearings in courts. The owner is given the chance to explain its origins, and the court decides on forfeiture. In the first 5 years since entry into force, the owner did not even turn up in 70% of cases. The Proceeds of Crime Act also improved information exchange between government and the agencies. It gave the police new powers to investigate financial crime, freeze and seize assets. Operationally, we now have over 2,500 trained financial investigators in the UK, accredited to over 20 public bodies, from the Serious Fraud Office to local authorities and the Department for Work and Pensions. Another tool to detect and combat under the Proceeds of Crime Act is the Suspicious Activity Report, or SAR. This is a system where the regulated professions, for example accountants, lawyers, bankers, estate agents, can report suspicious activity related to money laundering or terrorist financing in the UK. The UK's SARs can offer invaluable insights into criminal activity as well as opportunities for disruption. It is an offence for someone working in the private sector not to disclose to either their institution's money laundering reporting officer or directly to the UK's Financial Intelligence Unit if they know or suspect or have reasonable grounds for knowing or suspecting that the person is engaged in money laundering or terrorist financing. From October 2011 until September 2012, 278,665 SARs were received, leading to significant arrests. So what's the impact of the Proceeds of Crime Act? The answer is a big improvement. In 2003, we seized £20 million, whereas in 2010, we've seized over £150 million. Huge challenges remain. Estimated criminal profits in the UK are around £2.5 billion per year. I know this figure is quite a lot less than our UK financial authorities is listing, but that's because quite a lot of people from abroad like to invest in the London property market. We need to sustain our efforts as criminals, quickly learn to beat the law. It's worth mentioning that the Asset Recovery Incentivisation Scheme set up by the government. This allows 50% of all illicitly acquired assets seized to be returned to the agencies who recovered them. Some of the money must be used to improve asset recovery performance. So in summary, we now have a very comprehensive set of powers to seize the proceeds of crime in the UK. They're designed to target criminals' assets at every level and every stage, from the street crime to Mr. Big. But following the money is not easy. It requires specialism, dedicated units, international relationships, and effective legislation. However, targeting finance can yield great rewards, both in terms of the impact it has on criminal groups and financial return for law enforcement. There is a strong deterrent element as well, as asset seizure and forfeiture send out a strong public message. It's very popular with the public. In the UK, we want to ensure all organised crime investigations are accompanied by a financial investigation. Crime is business. By and large, criminals or corrupt officials are solely motivated by money. We should prosecute them whenever we can and disrupt them when you can't. If you seize the cash flow, you disrupt their operations, and if you seize their profits, crime becomes less attractive. Thank you.
Mulțumim foarte mult, domnule Peter Thomas.